In this video we're going to be covering how to use the read transcript and the dir map, which stands for directory map. These are two functions in the qdap package for reading in transcript files. Typically you'll have transcripts that look something like this. Typically in docx format. A lot of researchers tend to have their transcripts done in Microsoft Word or OpenOffice, something like that, and it's a docx file extension. Or I've seen a few researchers use an XLSX format, which is a Microsoft Excel type format, or in a CSV, very similar formats. So let's open up one of these files and take a look at what it looks like. This is really what the qdap package functions are expecting. So let's go back for a second. Read transcript allows you to read in a single transcript. Directory map is a way of reading in multiple transcripts at once. Now, let's go back to that. The read transcript function really expects your data to look something like this, where you'll basically have a two-column format. People on the left and dialogue on the right. Usually some sort of separator, usually a colon seems to be pretty popular. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other files in that directory. Okay. Similar type format. Transcript 3 here has a different separator, and that's okay as long as you have a uniform separator between the person column and the text column. And then we have the XLSX format as well. And again, it's two-column format, people on the left and dialogue on the right. Okay. Let's actually read some of those files in. Here we have a path. All I'm doing is specifying the path right here to that folder. Let's look at what files are in there. And we see those 4 files we just opened and looked at. Okay. Let's go ahead and read in the first one. And we'll just use read.transcript. And then path. Let's actually use file, path, and then we'll use trans1.docx. We'll read that in. It's a little bit hard to see, so let's go ahead and call that dat. We'll assign it to dat. And we'll use truncdf dat to view it. And here we see what it looks like. And there's some nice features of read transcript. Let's go ahead and actually look what some of those features are. Mark transcript, read transcript. And we see we can use column names, for instance. So let's try that. We can call column names equals person and dialogue. Now if we read it, we see our column names are named as they should be. Another one you may want to look at, it's important, is the sep. So if we read in transcript number 3, you remember that had the separator that was a dash. Let's see what it looks like here. you will want to, for that one, tell it separator is that dash. Do that with CP equals do trans3. Oops. And you see that it gives us an error, different number of rows, and the reason for that is because of the separator problem. So let's go ahead and specify SEP equals dash, and now we view it and it's fine. Before I had accidentally read in trans1, that's why it read incorrectly. We can also read in look at dat2 or transcript number 2 and try to read that in and see what happens. And there's an error there as well. That's because if we look at this file, we see this first line here. A lot of times you'll see this in transcripts where information's put in there that's not really part of the transcript, and we need to skip lines. Let's go ahead and do that. Specify to it, and you may have to play around a little bit with this, but you can see it's skip, and that's an integer value stating how many lines to skip. We'll try skipping 1, see what happens there. And no error this time, and it reads as it should. So the read transcript functions, you need to supply a file path to the transcript. You can supply column names, which is very handy. Separator, the SEP, you'll have to pay attention to, and then the number of lines to skip if your file contains information like this at the top that is not part of the transcript. And lastly, let's look at an XLX file. And it automatically detected that it was SLX and read it incorrectly, as we wanted it to. Now, this is nice if you're reading in just one file, but oftentimes you're trying to analyze a bunch of transcripts. And the way you can do that is you have a folder or directory, perhaps one that's created by new project. It's a qdap function. So let's say you have a directory with a bunch of transcripts in it that are cleaned and parsed and ready to go. What you'll want to do is use dir map, and you'll supply to it the path to that directory containing all those transcripts. So you can just kind of grab it from there if you want. The reports package has a nice way for Windows path. Type WP and paste it in. The reports package is called by qdap anyhow. So dir map, see what it does. And it just grabbed all the transcripts. And it copied them to the clipboard, or attempts to. Something you may want to be aware of, in these it has skip set to 0. You'll probably want to set skip to whatever is necessary. Try to read it in, see if it reads. But do be aware of, as you read in a file, whether it's with read transcript or using dir map, which uses read transcript obviously, that you really need to look at your data. Trunk df is a nice way to look at data. Look at it and make sure it really matches the transcript. If you see a discrepancy, you need to be aware of that, and don't just rely on the functions. You need to make sure your data or your data frame in R matches your data in the transcript. This has been a short video on how to use the read transcript and dir map functions in the qdap package for reading in your transcript data.